Well, that moves us nicely on to the transfer window. There's a few rumours, a few deals that may or may not be happening. It looks like a goalkeeper could be joining Saints in the next few days, perhaps from final. This is Justin, I think it's Bidgelow, isn't it?
Bilo, I believe.
Bilo. Bilo. Where are we at with that, Alfie? What's the latest at the moment, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think, look, Fabrizio Romano has already reported that basically it's done. So the agreement has been reached. I haven't actually got the inside track on this one, so I'm not too sure. But I'm not expecting it to be done by the time this goes out tonight at 7 o'clock. I think it's going to take a couple of days to get done, maybe tomorrow. So probably not in time for Wednesday. Would imagine, certainly not to play anyway. So I think that's important for them. Obviously, the Ramsdale stuff came out after negotiations for Bilo had already started, and I do feel that that I don't know what that is really, but to me, guessing it could be that they kind of wanted Ramsdale maybe as a first choice. So if he was available on loan, they would have taken him. But ultimately, it's very unlikely that they're going to be able to get the terms they want. So they've got someone in permanently instead. I think a couple of people like Romano have reported that there's a clause that if he doesn't play a certain amount of games, you don't actually sign him permanently. So it'd be interesting to see if that is true, because obviously he has missed a lot through injury in the last couple of seasons. I think the big one is fractured wrist, which had a couple of times, which obviously could repeat at any time for a goalkeeper. So I think that's interesting. If he plays maybe 15, 20 games, you'll keep him.
Is there anything to do with the financial fair play as well, Alfie? Do you think there's an element of that, getting him in on a season-long loan?
Yeah, quite possibly. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, quite possibly.
Those clauses that, I read what it said as well, that he has to play 20 games for it to make it an obligation for us to buy him. If that's down, if they're worried about his injury record, then surely that's available for 20 games, not selected for 20 games. How does that kind of thing work?
I think it's selected for 20 games, I imagine.
Okay, so we've got an out basically if he's either A, injured, or B, rubbish. Yeah. We don't have to go ahead with it. Well, that's good.
It's been rumbling on for a while, Martin. Obviously, Ramsdale was the other name that was mentioned, but I mean, he lost his place in the Arsenal side because he wasn't good enough with his feet. Essentially, he was taken out of the side. So, are you happy with the signing of? We don't know a lot about him. We've kind of seen a few videos. Obviously, looks like he might fit in quite nicely with the team and the way he plays. But I guess we won't actually know until he's here. But positive news.
I think it's positive news. I still would have gone with a Premier League ready goalkeeper if I could have done. If it was my choice, I would have got somebody that knows the league, that's played it. Yeah, he's been relegated with 2 clubs. I think he's an outstanding goalkeeper, Aaron Ramsdale. I was under the understanding from the people I kind of know in the game, sort of working in the goalkeeping industry, that come out this week, it'd been many weeks back. I think that the amount of money to bring him in is probably going to be around about 9 million. The time he pays wages, the loan fees, and everything else. But I like Aaron Ramsdale. I think he needs to get his career going again. He's going to be under pressure to keep his England spot with Nick Pope back playing for Newcastle. We missed a lot last season. And Aaron will be desperate to go out and play football. I think he will go out somewhere. I don't think it'd be to us now. I'm disappointed. But I think there are other areas that really need strengthening, which you'll come on to in a minute. But I'm disappointed we haven't got Aaron. I was quite excited about him as a goalkeeper because he would have gone straight in and you would have felt fairly comfortable with him. I think he's a brilliant goalkeeper.
Glen, were you worried about Ramsdale? Did you think that might have been the better option?
I think it probably would have been the better option. However, pros and cons, because there's the question mark over Aaron Ramsdale using his feet, as well as we've already said. The amount of money because it's Arsenal. In the same way that if it's Man United or any of the other big clubs, the money they're talking for a season-long loan, it's just crazy. And 9 million for a goalkeeper on loan, or 6 million or 8 million, or whatever it is, to buy one permanently. I do like the fact that if we buy a goalkeeper, if the Dutch lad turns out to be decent, the best case scenario, we could have our goalkeeper for the next 5 or 6 seasons. The worst case scenario is he's not any good and we get rid of him. And even if we didn't have this, even if this 20 game clause isn't a thing, we could probably sell him two seasons and not make a huge loss on him. If it works out well, I like the fact that it doesn't mean that Bazunu walks straight back into the team as soon as he's fit. It means you've got in effect 3 goalkeepers competing for the number 1 jersey, and I like that. And you would think the cream will rise to the top, whoever that is. and it just raises the standard. So in many ways, I prefer having another permanent goalkeeper.
Just two more things on Barlow quickly. My initial understanding was that Feyenoord wanted about 10 million for him. So, but I think as we're seeing with Saints, they've consistently this year negotiated better deals ultimately, and that may well have meant they probably missed out on targets along the way. But I don't think they're overpaying for anybody anymore, which I think is a positive.
No.
And number two, on Justin Barlow, whether he's a good goalkeeper or not will remain to be seen. But he is good with his feet, genuinely. Having watched his clips, and I'm sure you've all seen the stats and stuff, he actually is really competent with his feet. You can almost play him in centre half, like as I think someone joked on the podcast last week. So that is a positive.
The other news yesterday, Alfie, Charlie Alcacer wasn't in the squad. Looks like there's a deal that's close to happening there. Talks, I think, reports I read today. Is it Flamengo 5-year contract? So, I mean, you can't fault his effort, but it's just not quite worked out, and trying to find a place for him in that squad.
Yeah, I think we've been open all summer really that if they got an offer they thought was good, they'd be happy to sell him. As much as he was brilliant in the Premier League, I just don't think he fits Russell Martin's plans. And, obviously we don't know what's gone on, what's been said behind closed doors, but for whatever reason, he doesn't fancy him. Even when I was out in Girona, the impression that I got was that Tyler Diblin was very much ahead of Charlie Alcacer in the midfield pecking order, and that has proven to be true. So I think if they can get there'd be profit on him for a start. Maybe there's another player involved. Again, it's difficult with these Brazilian reports because you never really know what's true. They change player every week, and then there's different clauses, and so you don't really know. But I'd like to think the Saints will get around sort of 20 million for him, and maybe another player. And good luck to him. Flamengo is a huge club in Brazil. Apparently, I think it's one of the most supported clubs in Brazil. I think something like 25% of the population supports them. They play in their continental competitions. So I think it's a good move for him. But the fact that nobody in the Premier League or nobody in Italy or Spain has come in to bid £25 million for Charlie Alcacer is an indication that he's maybe not as good as some fans think he is. And ultimately, I don't think he was going to have a huge impact this season. There are certain things that I think you will miss with him. He is direct, he is forward thinking. If he played yesterday, you'd have had more shots, wouldn't you? Because he'd have been cracking from the edge of the box. So there is a miss there, but I think for everyone, this is probably right.
I suppose if we're being honest, Glenn, there aren't many assets in the team that people are going to pay big money for. So actually, if someone is attracting a bit of interest, this is a chance to get some money in that might grease the wheels and get another couple of transfers over the line.
Yeah, we've always thought that. I mean, there will be lots of fans out there who think Bella-Kotchap should be one of our starting centre backs, and there's an argument for that. He's a full German international before he started to break down physically. So, but yeah, football clubs have to make decisions sometimes, and it's like Billy was saying about Ivan Toney for different reasons. They've got to the point where, good player though he is, you've got to take the money and move on. And I think that's the case with Charlie Alcacer. I mean, we've given Russell Martin a new contract. The idea being, you would assume that he's our manager for at least the next 2 seasons, and obviously you never know how it's going to work out, but that's the intention. And as Alfie said, Charlie Alcacer doesn't really fit in with Russell Martin, so it doesn't matter how good you or I or anyone else thinks he is, if the manager is not totally on board with the player, and there's an additional bonus that you can pick up a fair amount of money for him. I mean, I'm surprised there's that amount of money in Brazilian football, to be honest. I didn't realise that they were paying transfer fees of that sort of size. So that's obviously a good thing for us if Charlie's happy with the move. And it's just one of those things where there's obviously a good player in there, but our current manager doesn't really see a place for it moving forward, and money's tight, so you have to move these players on. So Charlie, Armel, and even Tall have to go because they're not favoured by the current manager.
Just a couple of questions before we finish. Martin, what else would you like to see happen this week before that deadline closes?
There's one worry I have in the final week of the deadline day, is if someone comes and bids for Kyle Walker-Peters, because he has been brilliant. He's been our best player in the 2 games, and I think if we lose him, we are stuffed because he's been so good. He gives us so much going forward. He was the only player that was prepared to get shots off yesterday, and to lose him right now would be a massive worry. He's in the final year of his contract. We all know it. He's not signed a new deal. So what are the football club going to do? They're going to let it go to January. But I'm worried about that, and that's what will keep me on the edge of my seat to the end of the week. I think that Glen's alluded to it. There's plenty of players we need to get out the door. but there's some players we need to bring in. I still think we need a physical number 9. I don't think we'll get that, but I still believe we need another option up front. Absolutely. Will Ryan Fraser come in? Unlikely now. I still think we need somebody that can go and play wide that's going to hurt teams. Russell's continually said we need help in the final third, and we do need help in the final third. It's where that comes. I think it's a really busy week off the field. There's a lot of business to be done, and hopefully they can give Russell what he needs, because at the moment, I think in that final third is really, really worrying me. But Carl Walker-Peters, that's another worry. So, yeah.
I mean, just following on from that, I mean, I totally agree. The sort of tactical analysis that I did this morning on the piece for the Echo, my final line is, actually, is it time just to switch the phones off for Walker-Peters? Because, and I know that's not how football works, because if you can offer 20 million quid for him and you get, then maybe that greases the wheel for someone else to come in. And I appreciate there's a 50-50, but at this point, he's so key to the team with 5 days to go. Do you just say to him, look, sorry, mate, we're giving you all summer, but you're here now? And that's that. Yeah. And, I hope he can just remain professional and deliver. And I'm sure he can. The other thing is, I'm not sure what they're going to sign up front, because on Thursday, we did the press conference with Russell Martin. And he said, Jack Clark's a great player, but we're not looking at that sort of profile of player. And then in the interview after the game yesterday, he was asked about strikers. He said, well, we've got one coming back. We've got Ross Stewart. We'll go for someone in the final third, but it might not be a striker. And you think, well, what is it then? Is it a number 10? So I don't know at the moment. They're going to go for a number 10, 7, 9. They've got to bring someone in the final third.
Maybe he changed his mind after he saw Sam Adozie play yesterday. Awful, wouldn't he?
He wasn't good enough.
I've got a lot of time. I've got a lot of time for him, but this is the season where he needs to do it, because he's had 2 seasons now. It's like what we said about Sekou Mara. He's had 2 seasons now. This is the season where he has to do it, and he has to do a hell of a lot better than he did yesterday. Because at the moment, our wide areas are really lacking. I mean, even if you're going to play 3 up front and play Brereton Diaz off the left, Adam Armstrong off the right. I mean, Adam Armstrong really struggled. We didn't really talk about that, but both games he's not dispelled any doubts that he's ready to play at Premier League level. So that's a worry going forward. The only other options we got in wide areas, Sam Amo, who's 17, 18, and Sam Adozie, who really
don't forget Kamaldeen Sulemana, Glenn.
I've forgotten him. No, he's another box of biscuits player, and he's just broken, completely broken.
So, what's the week got in store for you, though, Alfie? Are you going to be? Are you going to have your phone on? Your WhatsApp's going to be buzzing all week, I guess. You're doing a live blog on. It's Friday night, isn't it?
It is Friday, isn't it?
I get the impression that it's going to be worth us staying up late, and that might just be players going out, maybe not coming in, but it could be one of the busiest weeks we've had in a long time.
Yeah, I think just in terms of our experience down in the windows, I've been doing this for 3 years, and I think only once in January 2022 it was completely empty. I think every other time's been pretty busy. I expect there to be things happening. I think I'm really glad we've got the Cardiff game on Wednesday, because that just breaks up the week a little bit. So it's not all about transfers, because I'm sick to death of it by now, as I'm sure you probably are as well, some of you. So we've got that to break it up. But then Thursday and Friday, we'll do a live blog all day Friday. That's a 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. shift for me, which I love doing every year. Genuinely, I do like doing it. And hopefully there'll be players in and out. I want to see 2 or 3 outs, and I want to see 2 in at least. And of course, there'll be movement in the 21s team as well. People like Derek Abu and stuff like that. I'd just be very surprised if they didn't go out on loan to the Football League, given their experience already. So there'll be a lot going on. But yeah, it's a big few days for Phil Parsons and co, and they've got to try and get it right.